This meeting is being recorded.
Well, heavens. I don't know if you all got that. So this is the first face drawing class of the year. And I'm very excited about it because we're going to be doing a kind of scaled back version of the class. We're going to be doing a little bit. We're not going to be drawing a full face today, but we're going to be talking about kind of general construct and practicing general construction rules, locating where features are on the face. And then I'm going to have us really drill down on eyes. So all you really need is a pencil and a paper and to join our WhatsApp thread. Or to find me on WhatsApp. So I just sent a thing on chat to find me on to connect with me on WhatsApp. Once you've done that, I can invite you into the class. If you don't have that, you can just text me. We find the WhatsApp thread for the class is helpful because you can see what everybody else in the class is doing. I will sometimes send stuff across if it's difficult to see. And then it's easier for me to see something through WhatsApp than it is, or through text than it is when you hold it up. So my plan is to help out. So as we go into faces, there are a couple of things to think about construction-wise that are really important. And one of them is that in the general construction of the face, there's kind of two ways that you can see the face. There is, I wrote a book on how to draw faces, so this is from my book. You can see that we start with this kind of overall shape. I'm going to sketch it in here so it's really clear for you guys. I'll also send it across the thread so you can look at it. That when we're talking about a kind of face forward look, that basically the shape of the face is and sort of an egg shape, slightly wider at the top, smaller at the bottom. And so one of the first things I want you to do, and you'll notice here, here's two fairly different, and what's kind of nice about the face is that, like, although we look very different, or we think we look different, everything is pretty much in the same places on the face. So, which we will review in a minute. So changes are very small and in small marks. And we like to think about the overall shape, like the envelope of shape in which things fit. So you'll see here, and my two models, this guy's got a slightly longer face. This woman has a slightly wider face, but they both have this kind of egg shape. And that the egg shape includes not just the skin that you can see, but also in a face forward position, it includes the top of the head, right? It really includes the skull from the top of the head to the bottom. So what I want you to start with is just something very, very simple. I want you to draw 10 sort of oval shapes, just to practice this idea. You can work with the ones that you're seeing here. Mine's a little bit too pointed. Let's try again. But I want you to really kind of focus on this idea. It's slightly flat on the top, kind of curved on the bottom. You can use these, but I want you to do 10 of these. As we start to construct the face, this is going to be really an important practice, is getting that sort of overall shape and then understanding what's in it. We'll talk about the side of the face next. So just for the moment, practice. And then if you feel like it, send it across the thread so I can see it. I'm kind of doing mine. You can be using anything you want here. I like to use a pencil just because you can erase. So even though the shape of this oval might change a bit, it's still basically kind of an egg-shaped oval. And you'll find that, you know, it kind of takes practice to get that in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I won't ask you to do anything I won't do myself. And you don't have to do it as fast, 9 if I want to. But when you're ready, go ahead, and you feel like sharing, go ahead and send it across the thread. I'll do that here so you can see. Nice. Bianca, I think that's you, 407, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm sending that across.
Yeah, that's me. Sorry, I was muted.
No, carry on. Just do your thing. I want, you know, we sort of also want this to be relaxing for people. So as much as you can, as you're stretching yourself out trying to do this. And Pari, if you can find me on, you know, my phone number's in the chat. So if you can find me on WhatsApp, you can.
I tried to add you with a +1, but it doesn't come up.
That's weird. I'm going to send you a link to your email.
Thank you.
Hold on 1 second. I think this is doing the group. Can you send me, can you tell me your email address? So I can see that.
Can I type it here?
Sure, type it in the chat. Got it.
Thank you. Sorry to slow things down.
That's okay. All right, no problem. All right, I just sent you the link to join the chat. You should have seen me at the beginning, you guys. Hi, Addie. Hi, Jessica. Welcome. Addie's in Montana. We got 1 or 2 new people. Good to see everybody. So now, guys, we're just practicing by drawing this kind of egg shape, which is the sort of outside shape of the head. Once you've got in, go ahead and send in a couple. Once I've seen a couple, Gina, excellent. Jane, good.
Mine don't look like guitar picks.
They do. That's why we think it's not a face, you know, it's kind of funny. And there is the 3/4 version of the face. Let's see. Right, where the head is turned, which is usually, excellent, Bianca, perfect. So there's the 3/4 version of the face. This is interesting because this is where I notice a lot of people who taught themselves to draw as kids don't understand what's going on here. There's a perspective issue. There's a lot of things happening. So it's good to review. The skull and the back of the head kind of sticks out when your head is turned. So you can see here sort of 2 different examples of this. I feel like I don't like it when here, let's do this. So here is my friend Mark, myself. If you ever really want to make yourself feel good, write a book and put yourself in it younger. You can totally like feel like you're younger than you are later. There I am several years ago, younger, carefree, not thinking about the pandemic. So I want you to notice a couple of things. Number one, the head extends out from the back a bit more, and notice where the neck kind of comes in. It comes in almost to where the edge of the ear is. In this case, you can't really see it because my head is turned this way. I wanted to have these 2 different positions. So the shape of the head from the side is really more like this. It's here, but I can draw it even better. I'll draw it for you. It's kind of like an oval on its side. This is very simplified, of course. And then here's the kind of, and this works if you're turned 3/4 or even if you're in profile. Here is the side of the face. Here's the chin. It comes up to about here. Your ear comes in here. See where the ear is? Here's where my ear would be if my hair wasn't covering it. And then the neck comes in right at the ear. And the head, the skull kind of extends a little bit back over the ear. So people miss this a lot. They'll chop off the head here, right? If they're doing something from the side. They'll, hi Mariana, nice to see you.
Hi,
Boy, we got a really international audience tonight. I love it. So this is a big thing to practice. Go ahead and practice a few of these, maybe going in different directions. we're not going to focus on this tonight because that's a little bit trickier, but this is what people forget. They forget about it because often there's hair coming down over it, right? Like this, so you don't see it. But even in this case with Mark here, where he's got short hair, we just don't expect the head to extend back that far. It's kind of the back of it. And so people ignore what they don't pay attention to. Actually, a lot of what happens in drawing is that people ignore, they make things bigger than they should, right? We make the eyes bigger than we should. And we sort of, the ears small, the things that we don't look at, we ignore, or we make smaller. So practice a little bit this concept. Try one from the side, the profile, right?
Leah, isn't this because you learned how to draw in France and everyone wears berets there?
I did not learn to draw in France. I learned to draw in Armenia. I have a very funny story about that someday. Let's see. I'm noticing my computer is acting a little bit, I'm looking a little bit fuzzy here. This is, this is construction. This is, it's a couple of good, Tosh, that looks great. So try a little bit this concept of getting this outer shape of the face. We'll come back to 3/4 poses later, but I wanted us to understand kind of basic construction now and catch yourself where you start to make mistakes, where everybody makes mistakes, I guess would be my idea. Here, I'll take a picture of my goofy little guys here, just to send them across. So this is sort of the basic concept. When I see a couple of these, I will go to the next, I'll go to the next step here. See, isn't this better, you guys? I'm slowing it down a little bit. I'm not making you dive right into a fully fledged face without talking a little bit about its characteristics. And by the way, I learned this. I did not go to art school. I was not somebody who learned to draw as a kid. I decided I want to be a painter when I was 30. And it was very painful, like 10 years of learning how to draw. That was a really hard lesson for me. So everything that you're getting from me is all of the mistakes that I made as an adult, which I still remember very clearly as I was trying to learn to draw. So any mistake that anybody has made here or will make, I have totally made it. I've probably done worse things, maybe even worse mistakes. Let's see.
Jean, what are you drinking?
Red wine.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh,
I always
Gina,
drink.
lovely. Yep, just great.
I'm drinking tea. You're
I'm
more
drinking
fun.
hot water. Is that?
Oh,
No
You
one's
suck, Leo.
making you drink tea. You can drink anything you want.
That's true.
I can't because I don't have anything else.
I love these examples that
Well, you
Gina
can-
has sent. Good, Tosh. Excellent, excellent. Make sure, Tosh, to kind of get, I haven't probably spelled this out enough. There's the side of the face. So there's the side of the face, there's the chin, and then there's the jawline, right, which goes up. So side of the face, chin, jawline. Let me see if I can get that more like this. So these are plane changes that happen, and they're really important in the scheme of things. A little difficult. Yeah, so Jean, you've got your neck coming a little bit too close here. So we've got like, here, I want to see what's happening here.
They're all terrible.
They're not all terrible, but in a few places, this is why we're practicing this shit. Sorry, this stuff, Addie. We do have an 11-year-old on, 12 now. Are you 12 now, Addie?
In about 3 days.
Ah, she's almost
Hey.
12. All
Happy
right, so even
birthday,
though
Addie.
she's almost 12, I try not to swear too much.
Yay. Happy
Right.
birthday.
Yay, happy
yay.
birthday, Addie.
Happy
So-
Twice
birthday
as
to
mature as the
Addie.
rest of us.
Right? So just make sure it's almost like kind of an open cup, like a little teacup. You could draw a little teacup in your head, not to confuse you even more. We're going to go back to this construction. All right, so I've seen a couple of people do this. So now let's talk about kind of basic feature placement. So if you're looking at a face, and when I say this, I want to make sure that you still measure, because in some cases people will be you'll think people are looking straight at you, but they're not, right? In some cases, I've noticed cell phones tend to elongate faces a bit, so they sometimes tend to tweak things out. But in general, one of the things you'll notice if you draw a face forward is that if you're going to, so say I sketch my egg here, my egg, right? Whoops, I just emailed it to you, Pari. Did I type it wrong?
Not sure. I didn't get it.
Okay, hang on. Don't worry about it right now. When I have a little break, I'll try it again. How's that? I'll send it over again in a second. I don't think it's as important. So right at this exact moment. So if I were to bisect the center of the face like this, and then find, let's make sure I've drawn that straight, and then find the halfway point, 1, 2. So the exact halfway point, this is the center of the eye line. Part of the eye is on the top, and part of the eye is on the bottom. So look what that does. The eyes are way smaller than we think we are. When we think they are. We want to make the eyes like just huge, like that, and I don't know. We'll talk about eyes in a second and what we do to ruin them. And so I want you to notice. Here are
That's a course title, Leah.
right.
Eyes and what we do to ruin
Eyes
them.
and what we do to them.
No,
Right,
to
that's what
ruin
the class is
them.
called.
To ruin them.
What we do to ruin them. Eyes and what we do to ruin them. Right? I mean, look at the difference between what you think the eyes should be. They're really about this big. So notice this. If you will see here, each of these faces is divided in half at this vertical line here. And notice that at the center, the halfway point, are the eyes. Now there are some differences in these faces. Can you guys see what they are? What is the difference in these faces? Here, I can even send over the picture.
It's the hair. It's the height of the hair and whether you use that or not.
Nope, it's not the height of the hair. And on this particular example, I was careful not to confuse people with piled up hair. What?
Shape of the jaws.
There's a slight difference in the jaws. There's something even
Length
more
of the
fundamentally different. What?
The length and width of the face. It's
Yes,
how long
the
it is.
length of the face. The length of the face, right? So the length of the face is taller or shorter. You'll see. Belize is a little bit longer. Mark's is a little bit shorter. Mine is a little bit shorter. If you were to compare these, here, I'll use my pencil, right? This vertical line is longer or shorter. So the length of the face can vary, but even though, hi, Janet, welcome.
Hi.
Even though the length of the face
Hi,
is
Janet.
varying, the halfway point, notice that this halfway point rule still applies. Can you see that? So even though the length of the face, which brings us to the most important measurement that you will make when you're starting to draw faces. So we're going to talk about it briefly today. I'm not going to hammer it home because we're not going to do a whole face, but I want to really identify. So when you are drawing a face, your first job is to define, right, get your circle in and define the distance, the vertical distance, find the halfway point. And then how do we figure out how wide the face is? We figure out how wide the face is by comparing it to the height of the face. So that will be different, right? Because the height of the face is different on different people. So if you look here, I'm going to give myself, besides having the halfway point, which is right here, I'm going to give myself the quarter point too. So I'm going to divide this half and half. So I'm going to do that in every location. I'm kind of guessing. 1, 2, yep. Oh, I'm on point today. I'm not always right. Sometimes I have to remeasure it. So this marks the quarter point. So let me see. The width of Rahul's face is like, notice that, it's just a little bit above the halfway point. The width of my face is up to the quarter point. Can you see that? Yeah, I know some of your eyes are glazing over. I'm going to tell you something. If you don't get this measurement, you will never be able to draw faces. Never. So we're not going to hammer on it, but I want you to understand the importance of it. It's hard to wrap your mind around it because it's a variable measurement. With Mark, it's a little bit higher than Rahul's, but shorter than mine. With Mali, it's quarter point. So as you're defining, so if you're drawing, if we were to draw me here, if we were going to draw this picture of me, I would need to make sure, here, let me find my quarter point here. Yeah, it goes up a little bit higher. There we go. 1, 2. I would have to check and make sure that my width from the edge of the face to the edge of the face comes up to my quarter point, right? If it's any wider, it's going to be too wide. So this is a proportional measurement because the length will vary from person to person. The width will have to be measured kind of against the length. Does anybody have questions about that?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you start to draw, you draw your oval
Mhm.
and then you adjust it.
Yeah. Yes. Great question. Yeah.
So if, say, this was your face, but I was drawing Rahul's face, I would make it narrower.
Yes, exactly. And here's the other thing. As you're starting to draw the face, I'll see that question and I'll raise you an answer. Here's a second answer. Not only do you draw your oval first, you define your vertical distance randomly. You get to decide how long your vertical distance is, right? And then you use this to measure everything else. So it does not matter how big it is. This, and if you'll notice, if you sit through enough drawing and painting classes with me, you'll notice I very often have you find the vertical distance of something and then the halfway point and the quarters. And Addie's like, yeah, I remember this, right? Because you can randomly define this. And then because we've defined this, we then use this to measure everything else. So that's the kind of, the good and bad news of this is that the rules are pretty clear. The bad news is it's a little tedious and it's a little bit hard to wrap your mind around. And the other bad news is that it's often not what you think is happening that's really happening. So you're going to be spending a lot of time going, no, the eyes can't possibly be that far down. No, the ears can't be that big. No, this can't be that wide, but that is the case. The other reason it's also really true is, remember, I'm not just drawing in the face, I'm actually drawing in, oh my God, I forgot how much I enjoy this. I hope you guys are having a good time. This is fun for me. Talking about technique is really fun because as an adult learning how to draw, that was all I had. If I wasn't taught something, I had no idea how to draw it, right? How to think about it, I had no idea how to draw it. So here's the edge of the face. We're kind of used to thinking of the edge of the face, this skin here, as like the face. But in this definition, we include the ears, the outside of the ears, right? So the face kind of comes in from that. We'll carve that out later. Once you get these two lines correctly proportioned, then here's another universal rule. The universal rule is that the middle line here is 5 eyes across. So it's a little hard to see here. Let me redraw them. I've just drawn 5 eyes. The distance, there's like an eye width here, and then an eye width on this side to the edge of the ear. There's an eye width between each eye. There's an eye width on the other side, and then there's another eye width. So once I get this vertical distance, so say I'm drawing myself, once I get this vertical and this width, this horizontal distance correct, I then, now notice I've laid my eyes down. Let's check, did I get them in the right place? There should be 1 eye on each side. If you want to, 2. Oh, this one's a little too wide. I do not have those in the right place. So let's see. So you can, if you want to, kind of guess. I'm going to guess, let's see, I didn't have that quite right. So I'm going to guess this. I'm going to move my eye a little bit to the right. It needs to be a little wider. Here. I can tell. Yep, 1, 2, 3. Here's my space between my eyes. So see how I'm using my finger to determine the width of my eye and to measure it across. So that's how I figure out. I wasn't too far off, but that's how I figure out where my eyes are. So I'd like you to sketch out a face to this point. You can pick any face here. I'm going to actually send it across the thread so you can see it really clearly. I took a picture of the actual, where are you? Actual photo here. I took the picture of the actual photo. I just sent it across the thread so you can look closer if you want to, or at any of these. You can look at your own face. At this point, we're not really going to be doing the whole face. We're going to really focus on eyes. If we have time, we'll go further. But like, I wanted to sort of spend some time focusing on features. I'd like you to create a face that has the proper height and width based on one of these examples or yourself. And here, and locate where the eyes are located. So we know that if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyes, the eyes are actually located at 2 and 4. And if there's any questions, Jean, your questions are totally on point today. Do you have any more? That's good. It's really good. So this is where things start to get a little bit. So this is the beginning of construction. Construction. So like anything else, a drawing and a painting are if we're drawing something figurative, right? We're trying to draw something that looks like what we see. We aren't making it up. We're establishing distances, and then we're measuring, we're checking how things are proportionally to each other. That is how you draw anything. So like building a table, right? Like a table, like building a table with beautiful carved legs. You don't start out carving a beautiful leg. You start out by chopping 4 blocks of wood that are going to become the table legs. And you got to make sure those blocks of wood are all the same size. Otherwise, you're going to have a wobbly table. And then you're going to cut a block of wood that goes on top of the table. So before you get to any detail, you kind of have to determine where things are. Once I learned this, I was like, I felt so much relief, because this is a logical system. It's an entire logic system, the visual spatial system. It's not how we're used to thinking about things. It's quite frankly not how people teach themselves how to draw. But there is a logic to it, and it's kind of a relief to have areas that you don't have to focus on right away as you're trying to get these bigger shapes in place. It's sometimes a little bit of a shift. I found it to be a relief. I grabbed onto these tools like they were a life raft. Let's see. Okay.
Leah, can you add me to the WhatsApp chat so I can
Yes.
see mine?
Let me see if I can do that now. I'm gonna go look at your thingy again. Yes. Oh, maybe you're here. Hold on. Sometimes my phone won't show me my WhatsApp. There we are. Won't show me my WhatsApp. That's just so weird. I don't know why we're having so much trouble. Nice, Gina. We're going to talk more. Yes. And if you want to, Gina, go on. Like if you want to go on, you're welcome to. This is really, I promise basics, and I feel like this is kind of classic basics. So don't stay.
I just want to know about noses and mouths.
Okay, we'll talk about that. I'll give you a little bit of tips on that, but let me get Hari on here. Let me see. Thursday, group info. Okay. All right. No. Give me just a second. I'm an old girl. It takes me a while to figure this stuff out. Group info, there we go. All right. Invite via link, share link, share via Gmail. Okay. I'm gonna look at this. I might have typed it in wrong. Hari Beesmar. All right, I just sent it. Did you get it, Hari?
I did get it this time around.
Yes, all right. So I must have sent it the wrong. So now you can just jump in. Mariana, you're on the WhatsApp chat. Oh, you're not on the WhatsApp chat. Maybe you're not. Hold on a second. You're right, you're not, because you just sent that on the chat. Let me do that. If I have you connected, then it's super easy. There she is. All right, hold on. Let me add you.
251.
There we go. Okay. Excellent. All right, everybody's in. So when you think you've got it, Tosh, that looks pretty good. Gina, a little bit on the flat side, but I like the.
I don't think my center line, I think my center line is leaning.
Okay, this is good. It's all good. We're not really doing, I'm just wanting to make sure. Okay, Mariana. One. Mariana, this line here is not in the center. It's too far down. You'll see if you'll measure it, you'll see it needs to come up a little bit to become the center. You have to find the very halfway point. This is exactly halfway down that vertical line, and yours is down about here. Bianca looks pretty. 1, 2. Okay, 1. So there's a little. You know what? 1, 2. Your eye, so Bianca, your eye is a little bit wide. So you'll notice on this side, it kind of extends a little farther. So shorten it, this eye a little bit, and then remeasure. And I think you'll see everything will fit more nicely.
Okay.
I mean, if you really want to, you know, if one is really, what I'm asking you to do is kind of evaluate how big or small you think something is, right? And that's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I pulled up a picture that I was going off of,
Yeah.
and I realized that when I did the proportions of height to width, I left out his ears. So
Yes,
I was
there you go.
trying to leave space on the sides with the eyes, extra
It
space
should
on
be
the
one
sides.
eye, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, excellent. Yes. So if you're working with your own photo, that's awesome. And if you want to send me your own photo, then I can even look at it and see. All right. Yeah, Pari, perfect. Good. Yeah, that's all right. Messy's okay. We'll take
Leah,
Messy.
sorry, I'm gonna ask something you probably already said. So the
Okay.
ears are inside the oval.
Yep, the ears are inside the oval. Yes. Yes. So if we were to draw the face, not to get right, like this is like kind of the edge of the face here, say for example, I'm not going to get too into this because we're not going to do it today. And the ear kind of comes out here, right? And then the jawline comes in more. That's yes. So the edge, the outside edge of the ear is inside this oval, which is, I think, the confusing thing. You'll see actually when we start to construct the faces, full faces, and you guys are going fast, so it's possible that we'll get to this sooner than we might get to this in the next lesson or two. One of the things to observe, I might as well say right now, is that ears are way bigger than we think they are. Look at where the ears kind of line up with the eye line, and Rahul's come almost up. They're just above where his mouth starts. Mali's also line up with the nose. Yes?
So we could not figure out my iPad. My WhatsApp still isn't working. So how does this look?
It's okay. Let me see. You guys are going to add Addie as a spotlight for just a second. 1, 2. Okay, hold on. Hold it up. Hold it up. Hold it straight. Looks good. Good job. All right. So before we go to eyes, more detail on the eyes, for Gina, we're going to talk about, and for the rest of you, why not? We're going to talk about noses and mouths very quickly. So one of the things to also observe, you remember we found the quarter point up here. I like to give myself a quarter point down here too. So to divide this half in half as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? There are 4 quarters. You're going to see here, if you look close enough, there's a little yellow line where the quarter point is on the bottom. So one of the things I want you to observe, and here I'll sketch this in so it's real easy to see, is that here is the quarter point. It's like a different thing. Here, I'll mark it in right here. Quarter point, quarter point. What is absolutely true about the quarter point? Where is it? What's happening at the quarter point? Can anybody tell? In
Bottom
all
of the
these
nose.
faces? The bottom of the nose, right? So the bottom of the nose kind of comes either kind of slightly above the quarter point, or sometimes it'll come right at the quarter point, but the bottom of the nose really often is, let's put it this way, in this quarter of the face, the nose is contained. A couple of other things. You will see that the edge of the nose, this kind of, you know, where the nose kind of goes up like this, lines up, basically the width of the nose at the base is about the same as one eye. So the edge of the nose kind of comes up and usually lines up with the inside tear duct of the eye on either side. Like this. I always find that with the nose, less is more. So I do not draw in these. I really don't add these lines in at the beginning because it's too harsh. I really just try to get the bottom shape of the nose. And does anybody remember from last year, there's really 2 types of noses?
Foxes and pigs.
Foxes and pigs. So Jean mentioned something about me learning these lessons. Wait, I'm gonna go get my book for this. I'll show you up close. Hang on just a second. So I went to Eastern Europe for 5 years to learn how to draw and paint. And I basically went to meet as many artists as I could. So I met all these artists from all over the place. And some of them became my teachers and friends. And one of them is a friend of mine named Lado Pochkwa. He's a Georgian. He's from the Republic of Georgia, a great artist, wonderful drawer, and very encouraging of me at the very sort of beginning stages of my career. And I remember him telling me once, Leah, they 2 types, he lives in Brooklyn now with his wife. Leah, they 2 types of noses on people. There are foxes and there are pigs. He said, you and I, we're foxes, right? So what is that? What is that difference? a fox nose kind of comes up these areas, these lines are up above the bottom of the nose. The bottom of the nose comes down. Right, like this. A pig nose goes straight across. And listen, I love pigs. So don't like take that wrong, right? A pig nose, the lines on the side of the nose, here, it's a little bit hard to see here. I'll sketch them in like this, right? That this bottom of the nose kind of lines up with the sides. Look at that. But it's a beautiful definition. So in a fox nose, you've got the lines on the sides and then it kind of dips down a little bit. With a pig nose, the lines on the side kind of line up with the bottom of the nose. And you want to be really careful as you sketch these things in. With the nose, less is more. This looks like a big gaping hole. In fact, only about this much, this tiny little line is dark. The rest of it is kind of a medium or lighter. So you kind of de-emphasize the nostrils because otherwise you'll make them too big. Look
Hey,
at,
Leah,
yeah,
what book is that?
it's my book. I wrote a book.
Why are you drawing in your book with a Sharpie?
I don't fucking
It
care.
hurts.
So
It
don't
hurts
worry
me
about
to
it.
do
Don't worry
that.
about it. You can't see it. You can't see. I have 3 copies of the book laying around. One is for like, sorry, Addie. Sorry about that. You couldn't see, so I'm drawing it in a little bit more clearly. I know. I'm sorry, honey. Don't worry about it. There's more where this came from.
I think you have to apologize to the book.
Sorry, book. Love ya.
Yeah.
And notice,
Yeah.
I've got like, I'd say
Oh,
1 proper pig, 3 foxes. Right? So when you're working on the nose, you kind of want to locate where are the sides. You know where to put them. They're kind of lined up with the inside edge of the eye. You know where to widen, here, right? You're right, Jessica.
Leah, can you
I
draw the
know.
other nose? Can
What?
you draw the other type of nose in your drawing?
It's right. I'll take a picture of it. How's that? Because we're not really I don't really want to focus on it today unless we actually have time, because there's a lot to talk about with eyes, but I'll send this across so you can see it. There you go. And then mouths,
Thank you.
if you'll notice, there's another dividing line. I divided this last quarter in half. And when you divide the last quarter in half, does anybody observe what's at that quarter point?
Bottom of the bottom lip.
The bottom of the bottom lip. So the mouth is contained in here. Generally. Now that's not always true. And it's also not always things that look like you're kind of staring at somebody exactly. So if I want to find that, I can like 1, 2, right? Here's the bottom of the bottom lip. Here's the middle line for the middle lip. Here's another measurement. We'll talk about constructing eyes in a second, but basically that middle line of the mouth kind of lines up with the center of the iris. Janet, do you remember this lesson from a million years ago? Long before I was teaching for Reuters or anybody, right? This middle line of the mouth lines up sort of in the vicinity of the middle of the iris, right? The middle of the eye. Also notice that the lip, a big mistake that people make a lot is to bring the lip all the way to the edge of the mouth. The middle of the mouth actually extends a little bit farther than the meat of the lip. So if you want to make the lips look too big, you'll do this. Right? That is like they kind of come to meet at the edge. In reality, the lips come a a little bit in from the edge of the mouth. So one more thing to pay attention to, top lip. If a human is kind of lit normally from the top, usually the top of the lip is darker and the bottom of the lip is lighter. This line in the center is really big. And then there's always this lovely little light ledge of skin tone where, so what happens is there's a turn here where the upper lip turns in. And so it gets darker. And then this bottom lip kind of pouts out. We'll talk, if we have time after do you guys want to learn about eyes? Can I talk to you about eyes for a little while? Because there's a lot to know about eyes, and we'll go back to features shortly. Other features, well, I can go back to other features if we've got time. Okay, yes, Tosh, thank you. So let's go back to eyes for a minute. I want to draw them big here, sort of super big, so you can really look. So eyes, even though we know that eyes are kind of similar in like where they're located on the face, there are some pretty significant differences that happen between eyes from eye to eye. I will draw at the beginning. Let me just remind you, if you're a little kid, this is how you taught yourself how to draw the eye. You know, when little kids are learning to draw, they draw in what we call kind of symbolic drawing. So this is sort of a classic. I don't know if anybody remembers doing this. I sure did. I did a whole sort of round circle for the iris. I put in a dark circle here. I did these little spikes for the iris. I had my eye shaped like an almond. It was like curved on the top and curved on the bottom. And then I made eyelashes like this, right? So that is kind of the sort of symbolic way of drawing an eye. But a real eye has a different shape to it. Real eyes tend to be curved on top and more straight across the bottom. That's one thing that's kind of true about them. Unless you're holding your face really wide, here, I'll show you. Unless you're holding your eyes really wide, like this, you can't see the entire iris. The top and the bottom are both cut off. So it looks more like two curved lines, like this. Right? This bottom edge is actually much lighter. There's a little sort of pink skin layer that sticks out and is lighter. So we tend not to draw our lines on the bottom of the eye as sharply as on the top. So there's a lot more darkness and shape. And then here is a real key point. Back to the final. Wait, here. And you'll really see the difference. If you look at the four eyes of these people, so this is my eye, this is Molly's, this is Mark, and this is Rahul's. So what you'll notice is very different from eye to eye is this upper lid line is actually hugely different from eye to eye. So the upper lid line, if you can see in mine, so I have a sort of Eastern European background. There's a lot of skin between the top of the top lash line and this top of the lid line, right? This is sort of the back of the lid where the back orb of the eyelid sits. Look at Molly's. Molly's has so mine kind of goes up, over, and then down. Molly's is a little bit closer and cleaner. Mark's comes farther out. You see the difference in the shapes? So this shape here, that's between the top lid line and the eye, is very important in terms of showing difference. And Rahul's got an extra. lid line here. So when you're trying to convey difference, once you've got these pieces mapped out, depending on whose eye you're sketching in. Let's see. We've got the, let's see, I'm doing one of these eyes. We've got the, what do you call it? The tear duct here, right? And then if I'm sketching my own eye, I'm kind of coming up a little bit, over and down. Maybe that's a little too high. Right? I'm trying to recreate this shape as much as possible. So that's a really significant difference in eyes. The other thing that's very significantly different in eyes, I also, of course, did not make a copy of this, is what I do with you, book. All right, Jessica, the book is now hiding from me because I wasn't like there.
That's because you've been
I
drawing
wasn't
on
being
it.
nice
It doesn't
to
want
it.
anymore.
Yes,
That's
I know,
right.
I know.
You know, I gotta go for dinner.
All right.
I'll send you what I got.
Bye.
Thank you, Gina. Right.
Bye, Gina.
The other thing to kind of see about the eyes, and if you want to see the most distinctive thing about a person, look at the eyebrow on each of these. So in this particular case, in Malie's eyebrow, look at how much shape there is between here and here. Look at how my eyebrow sits almost on top of my upper lid line. See that? Look at how Rahul's is so dark, we can't really even see the end of it here. We can kind of only see the shape of the eyebrow here and here. Mark's, you can see there's this kind of clear line of skin, shape of skin, kind of between the upper lid line and the eyebrow. So the most distinctive parts of a person are how their upper eyelid is shaped and where their eyebrow is and what kind of shape, what is the shape of the skin between those three things. So this shape and this shape, this shape and this shape, this shape and this shape. They're as important for shaping likeness, like the differences between people. Isn't that weird? Right? Do you think of that when you think of looking at somebody? You do not look at their eyebrows at all. But that is what really makes the difference between people, are these little shapes like that, right? We're not used to thinking about that, right? We're used to thinking about looking in somebody's eyes and thinking they're all like blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's go back to eyes for a second. Once we've got the upper lid line, let's leave the eyebrow for the moment.
Hey, Leah,
Yeah,
I just want to take a second to tell you that you're all blah, blah, blah.
I'm all what?
Blah, blah, blah. Just
What
like
do you
said.
mean?
You just said, and these people, they're all like blah, blah, blah. You're all blah, blah, blah.
I'm all blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Just like you said.
Just like I said, we're all blah, blah, blah.
That we're all blah, blah. Jean, you're blah, blah, blah too.
We're all blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You're
Need to
welcome.
be reminded of that.
I'm
right,
blah,
so-
blah, blah too, and you can always tell it to me.
All right, so here's a couple of secrets, kind of neat things to know about the eye. Number one is that no matter what color your eye is, the edge of the iris is always a little darker than the inside. So whether you've got brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, hazel eyes, whatever, the edge of the iris is always darker. The iris meaning this, you know, whole ball in the center where all the eye stuff is kept. Eye stuff, you like that? Very formal. I need a medical student here to tell me. Right. And then the pupil is also dark. Right. If you look really closely, you'll see that actually the top eyelid sort of shadows the whole top of the eye. So regardless of how, sometimes that will kind of turn into a darker edge here, right? But it means that the top of the iris is darker and the bottom of the iris is lighter. In fact, the top of the white is also slightly shaded. This is the shading that happens with the top, the eyelashes on the top. All right. And if you really want to make that look good,
What? What do you want? Get down. No, 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 get out. That's Terps. Get out of there. Get kitty cat, go. Oh my God. Sorry.
all right. You'll all notice there's a little white reflected edge. Usually that's kind of on the top. Sometimes it's on the right corner. So you can either pull it back out and darken around it. You can erase it. You can not color it in at all, right? So just work around the edge of it. There's always this kind of light area. And then there's this dark area. It's also a little bit shadowed in the, what do you call it? The tear duct. And then instead of drawing these little sticks for my eyelashes, I'm going to like kind of darken. The eyelashes get kind of thicker as it comes towards the outside edge of the eye. So I'm just going to I'm going to start kind of light, dark, sort of towards the edge of the eyebrow. So there's less hair here, which means there's less eyelash. It really starts to get kind of heavy here, comes here. So you'll notice I'm thickening here, and I might add a few sticky up points, but not too many. Right, just depending on kind of how many you see. And down here, I'm going to make this line. I'm going to add this extra line here to add my light, and I'm going to kind of make this a little bit lighter. I might add a little bit of eyelash down here, but not too much on that second line. And then all of a sudden, you've got an eye that looks a little bit more like an eye. So you can see it's kind of different. So you can try, so questions on any of this. I know it's a lot of information. See, this is why I like don't want to do the whole thing. It's better that we just practice on eyes for a while. I'm going to send this over to you so you guys can try these eyes. You can also work on your own source. Hold on, I'm gonna.
Leah, how do you shadow the upper lid?
How do you
Like-
shadow the upper lid? It depends on, so here you can see there's a bit of shadow, right? So take a look at whether there's shadow there or not. So it looks like where there's more eyebrow, there tends to be more shadow. But you can see it's pretty light, actually. Great question, by the way. Wonderful question. Let me send this over to you guys so you can see these eyes up close. You can, so I'd like you to practice eyes. You can practice them.
I was doing it while you were talking.
Yeah, I figured. We're gonna keep doing this every week and adding more details in. So we will get to a whole face, and we will eventually be doing a face of class. A full face of class. There we are. Not bad, Pari. So get your, so are you doing, so is this little sketch up here where the eyebrows are?
Yeah.
Or have you not got there yet?
No, that was the beginning shape of the eyebrow.
Beginning shape of the eyebrows. So I like this. So get your little light reflected, get your eraser really full on in there and give yourself a little light reflected.
Mm-hmm.
You see this little light dot here?
Yeah.
That's what really makes the eye start to really look like an eye, but good. And give yourself a little bit of a line, a little bit more of a line. This is nice. Does this help anybody solve any issues they've been having with faces? Is it helpful at all? Um,
For sure.
yeah.
For me, it's great. It's really demystifying. You know,
Right?
I find once I get the eyes wrong, I just lose the rest.
Right. Well, right. And so Pari, what I want you to try and do is do the face and put the eyes in proportion and try to do two eyes in proportion and together. They can be any face, right? So you can take any face. And if you guys are, and I just want you to practice this for a while. I want you to practice eyes. Although we might go a little bit farther because we've got some time, but I want to actually see that you've really gotten this. Okay, so Mariana, what eye is this? Is this an eye that you're making up, or is this an eye that you're looking at here?
No, I combine them. I tried to do your shape of your eye.
Right.
But then I found very difficult to follow the top part of yours. So I did the third. So it's a
Okay,
combination
so
of the second.
what I'm noticing is, so one of the things that will help you is to look at these shapes as well. So beyond, I think where you're struggling a little bit is here. So look at these white shapes. So this is the shape of the white. I'm not drawing on this, Jessica. This is a handout. This is a copy. Right.
Sorry,
So
yeah.
look at the shape. No, you're right. Look at the triangles and look at the triangles of white. Right.
Yeah.
Look at the relationship of
And the
those. Try to
proportion,
get
yeah.
those shapes. So what you did is a little bit like, yeah, you've missed the shape, and also this. So this is kind of coming out a little bit too long.
Too much, yes.
Right.
Mhm.
And then you don't have the tear duct in. So the tear duct is here, right? Or on the other side, depending on if you're drawing the eye from one to the other. So I'd like to see you draw a face in proportion, right? With the halfway point. It can be any face. It can be one of the faces that I've sent you already. It can be one. And I want you to do two eyes in proportion. So that's kind of what I want to see you guys do once you've practiced a couple eyes big. Let's try that.
Can you just draw the eyes of the head we already had?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Or you can draw somebody else's eyes. So here's the thing about drawing. It's a little relentless. You can't, you're always checking shapes against each other, right? You're always checking to see what is this shape. So what I can see actually when I look at my eye here, if I'm doing my eye, I can see that really the white of my eye here is much smaller. It's more like that. Aha, there we go. Right, so as I'm sketching in my eye, I have to pay attention to this shape and that shape, as well as this shape and this shape and this shape and this shape. So I'm always, that's the thing that's a little bit tedious and tiring. Is that you're always looking in relation. Once I get this out, it's very easy to draw things too big. So it's very easy. And it's also very easy to forget about the shape that's next to the thing that you're drawing. So when you're focusing on the iris, it's really easy to make that huge and not think at all about what's happening here. But when you're drawing, you need to think about that as well. So yeah, let's say that the assignment now is for everybody to get yourself a face. Maybe you can use the face that we've already put here, right? Get yourself two pretty well described eyes in the face. And if you want to, we have time, we'll keep going. If not, we'll go into more detail on other features next week. Also, if you're farther along and you want to, if you're working on a source that I can't see, as long as you send it, Tosh, that looks really good, by the way. As long as you send it, me a picture of the source, then I can just tell you how effectively you're getting that done. I forget to, how do I say it? Sometimes I forget to tell you you're doing a great job. Like, I was like, you've done 10 things correctly, and I'm focusing on the one thing that's wrong. So you can always say to me, hey, Leah, you're being a little, can you tell me what's right first before you find out what's wrong? But I, in an expedient kind of way, I'm like, I always go right to the thing and fix it. But I want you to know everybody's doing really well. So as we're doing this, please know you're doing well. And send it over as you're working on it. You can see what your classmates are doing. And don't feel, and in this class, we don't really expect people, okay, Addie, that looks pretty good. Good. So I'm curious, so you're doing good. Everybody's doing good. Jessica, I love your topiary cats.
Thank
Oh my
you.
God, congratulations. That is
Thanks.
a big project done.
Yeah, it was a big project.
For those of you who've been following these, who have been in these classes for a while, you'll notice that Jessica has often been showing up and working on something that she wouldn't show us last year. And it was this series of phenomenal, wacky, wonderful pastel illustrations. Were they all pastels? They were all pastels.
They're all
right?
pastels, yeah.
Pastel illustrations of cats and topiary. Really amazing.
Thank you.
If you feel like sharing any across the thread, we'd all love to see them. But I'm not putting you on the spot here. I'm not telling you you have to.
You know what? It's actually just easier to share on my
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah. And for those of you who are new from Reuters, Pari, I don't know if you know this, but Gina Twa is like the head of, she's like the big cheese. She's your big boss.
The executive editor.
She's the executive editor. There's only one person more. And she's been a huge proponent of these classes. So at Reuters. So it's a really nice way to get to know her because she comes to class.
Oh, well, you should look at her Instagram too. I'll put it up.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Gina is a really wonderful drawer.
Yes, she is.
Jean, good. These are coming along. Absolutely. Just keep going. I'd say do 5 or 10 eyes. Well, maybe 6 or 10 eyes. Paired correctly. Practice the eyes. Jessica has posted her Instagram if you want to follow to see what she's been working on. And Gina's got some really wonderful work.
I agree.
You'll notice that even, let's see. All right. Okay. So Pari, I still think you've put the ear outside the eye. So you put the ear too far out, right? I know. See, it's a mental shift. Your ear.
I don't think that's mine that you're looking at.
Right. That's not yours.
I don't think so. I didn't send one just now.
Oh, you didn't?
The
Oh, I'm
last one is
sorry,
the
Bianca.
one.
It's yours. Sorry,
Oh, yeah,
Bianca,
you're
this is
looking at
yours.
me.
So one of the things I wanted to show you is that the way your measurements work. Can you send me a picture of what you're working on?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'll show you, I think what's happened is you put the ear outside and really the ear needs to be, got paint on my phone.
Yeah. So when
Be inside this circle, not on the outside.
when I measured the face though, like the width and the height.
Send it over.
Yeah, I'm sending it now.
Let me take a look. Can you take a picture of both of them together? Actually, do you have them together, or are you looking at something on a screen?
On screen, yeah, I've got.
Can you put up your paper so that it's sort of propped up and next to? So what I'd like to see is the two of them together. Okay. So number one, he's not looking straight at you.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't the best photo, but it was one of the better ones I could get of him.
Yes. So
forward.
he's not looking straight at you. That's the one issue that you've got. So those proportions aren't going to work for you.
Yeah.
because I see what you're trying to do though. So let me check and see. Let's see how this went. Let me see. One,
To do like,
two, yep. So really, it's because we can't see the ear on this side. It's also tricky for me to see proportions. One, there we go. 1, 2. Well, yep, the proportion there is the same halfway. So 1, 2. Okay, so I'm going to check those. So now I've looked at those. I'm going to check what you've got. Okay, so for example, you have 1, 2. All right, that's good. All right, so these width and this height is good, but the eyes are in the wrong place. Because his head is turned, this eye is close, is almost to the very edge, and you can't see the ear, right? So you don't draw the ear because you can't see it. And then that also, because his head is turned, this eye is a little bit, the eye that's turned towards you, the eye that's closest to you is a little smaller, right?
yeah, my thought was more to use that picture as like a frame of reference, not to like
And try to draw
completely
him
recreate.
as if you're seeing him on front.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I used it for like the height and the width.
Okay, but it's interesting that those still work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So also notice his eyes are kind of on a slant here too.
Yeah, they are.
So right. Okay, I get it. So but you'll see even when his eyes, and here I want to show you this when we go up really close. How close can I bring this up? Even when his eye is, notice that the width of the eye almost still comes to the edge of the ear. You see that?
Yeah.
So the face still comes in a little bit, even from the side. So putting your eye, this was the thing I was really kind of focusing on. You put your ear outside that, but really it needs to be a little bit more in the edge of the face kind of comes in here. Really, the edge of the face comes about halfway between, if you were to find the half of the eye, right? The ear is kind of on this half and the edge of the face is here. So if you can adjust that, bring his ear in a little bit and run the edge jawline of his face, I think you can do it. I like how the nose is looking. I like how the mouth is looking. And then since you're there, what you guys can start to do after you get your eyes and your nose and your mouth kind of sketched in, is to start to hone in on like how, let me see. What are these things here? This is what we'll spend more time with on our next session. So if you look at the whole face, you'll notice that once you've kind of sketched out the features, you can use, say, where the nose is, the width of the nose to measure how wide is the cheek on either side, right? Where does the edge of the cheek go? So you can see kind of how wide and how far out the jaw comes. It's easy to make that too big at first, but as you're starting to carve it out. So what's happening is that between the eye and this fifth eye here, between this eye shape here, the shape of the face comes about here where the skin meets the ear. And then maybe that jaw comes into here and the ear. You see how we start to, I can make this face a little bit skinnier, or my face, or whoever you're drawing here, right? I can do the same thing with the edge of the mouth. I can see, I can take the nose of the eye and see from the edge of the mouth, how far out does it go? So here, jaw. So as I'm starting to kind of shape things, I can use these measurements, which I've already kind of created, to really shape the bottom part of the face. Also, we can start to add in the hairline. So you can see here that this quarter point helps us to define where the hairline is. You can define here, in my case, if we're doing the hairline, it's above, it's closer to the top of the head. So here's my quarter point. I know my hairline kind of starts out here, right? And comes in, kind of swoops all the way down to the ear here. Maybe that helps me shape the top of my head a little bit more. And then I can kind of add the shapes that are outside the oval, right? The shape of the hair. So for those of you who feel like you've practiced eyes enough and you've got the features in, this is kind of the next step. Notice that the neck is way wider. It kind of lines up with the edge of the eye very often on either side. So it's often much wider than we think it is. And the hair, wait, neck is there. There we go. Right, so now I can start to sketch these shapes. So if you want to start getting more detail, you can continue to work. You get the ears in, get the shape of the jaw. You can darken the hair, which very often is darker than the skin, no matter what your skin tone is. The only exception is people who have silver hair. Then their hair tends to be lighter than everything else. But normally, whether you've got blonde hair or brown hair or red hair, it's usually kind of dark, right? So you can kind of darken. Notice I'm not drawing every hair. I'm just darkening because this is the darkest. It still doesn't quite look like me because the mouth is totally wrong. This is not my mouth. I have a very thin lips, so I need to bring this in a lot more to make this start to look like me. But can you see how this carving in takes place? So if you feel like you want to, if you're tired of practicing eyes, you want to kind of go further, go ahead and see if you can get in the shape of the hairline and the skin, the skull of the face, the ears, and the bottom jawline. It still takes a while, but it's almost like we're carving this face out of stone, right? We're carving it away. So who's, once again, Mariana, I want to look here. 1, 2. So whose eyes are you drawing? Who are you just sort of making up a face here?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not anybody in particular, just very
No,
heavy
sorry.
eyebrows, upper lines, right? Is that
Yes, I'm
you're just playing around. Excellent.
No,
so
I'm trying to make it symmetric first because this is my first time.
Okay, what's that?
I'm trying to make it symmetric first.
Symmetric.
you know,
What do you mean by that?
Well, the eyes are located, right in the position that it should be.
Yeah. That's perfect. This is great.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So you're at this place where you could try to sketch in, take one of these shapes and try to sketch in the hairline and the edge of the face if you want.
Yeah, I did it. I'm gonna show it to you.
Send it over. Awesome. Addie, the nose. Oh yeah. So Addie, your mouth is down too low. You have the top of the mouth at the quarter point, and really it's the bottom of the bottom lip. That's the quarter point. That's at the top of the quarter point. You see that? Okay. Nose is a little bit wide too. I'd bring it in a little bit on either side. Notice that a millimeter of space makes a big difference. So the difference between likeness and not likeness is like so teeny. Do you guys, I feel like you guys are going fast. We're gonna kind of construct a face. We're gonna do one more session like this where we go more into detail on shading and construction next week. And then we're gonna go right into face drawing because you guys are actually picking this up really quickly. So don't worry, we're not gonna spend 4 weeks not drawing the face. We will not drawing a real face. I can see how quickly you're moving through this. So we will, I'm gonna walk you through. In fact, I might even give you a face next week. We'll see. There's another set of practice instructions I want us to try involving face planes. So we're gonna do that next week. And then we will go into we'll just go into working from photographs. Kari, I still can't believe you're up. I think it's so awesome. We love it. I'm so excited that somebody is up and it's now almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
I'm too excited about these classes.
Yes. Oh, you wrote to me. Now I'm remembering. You wrote to me. So tomorrow's class is a painting class, and Saturday's class is a beginning drawing class. So anyway, yes, you come to as many as you can. Oh, that's looking great. Okay. You guys, this is looking good. These are looking good. Is this helpful? Has this been helpful?
Very.
In terms of breaking things down? And there's a lot to know. There's a lot of technique in drawing faces. I can be a little bit of a technique Nazi, but I do promise you that the final product is actually not as important to me. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it could look and be beautiful. It's really about the discipline. Oh, hello, Furball. Here, hold on. We're gonna say hello.
Oh,
Was that
Pebbles.
Bubbles? Pebbles?
Pebbles. Bubbles.
Pebbles.
Is Dean's cat.
Bubbles is mine.
Bubbles.
Yeah.
No, this is Bubbles.
This
Oh,
is-
Bubbles is yours.
This
Yeah.
is Pebbles, and she's just getting in the way of everything, and I cannot do anything without a cat in my face,
Yeah.
and it's annoying.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anybody
yeah, she's
else want to
horrible.
share their pets? I will totally put them up.
I
the
didn't
moment.
mean for her to come up here. She just did. I'm gonna kick her out now, and she's gonna
We
get
like
mad
our
at me.
pet. This is the
No, no, no,
pandemic.
get down. Oh my God. This
We
cat.
like our pets. We like our pets. So you will notice during the week that people might still be using this thread to talk to each other. I encourage you to do that. Send stuff around. If you want your practice during the week and you want me to take a look at it, I will look at it and I will help. I will critique if that's helpful. You will notice that even if you don't come to class, you'll still get every message on the WhatsApp thread. Which I think is kind of helpful because all of these classes are recorded. So if you miss a class, you can go see that recording for free. There's no charge for that. So
Or if you want to go back and go, oh, what was she talking about at that one moment? You can
and
just
then you'll
look
realize I wasn't making any, I was just going blah, blah, blah. Oh, nice, Mariana. That's great. I'm liking this. Oh,
Thank you.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Bianca, that's looking good. I noticed you kind of adjusted. I'll tell you, I love the shape that you've got on his nose. I feel like you've really nailed that.
Thank you. Yeah, he has a very specific nose with like the kind of widening in the middle, you know?
Yep, exactly. Kind of like goes out like this and then in like this. So you want me to talk a little bit about noses and mouths since you happen to be there? Should we talk a little bit about that? Or if you guys want to get really crazy, because we do have half an hour left. I can talk to you about shading. Want to talk a little bit about shading? Because this helps when it comes to the nose. You'll see that less is really more with the nose. You want your lines to be less distinct, less strong and more soft. All right. So shading, and we'll talk more about this next week, but this is what I would call a basic shading chart. This is the shading of the face. if the face is being lit from this direction. So let me take a picture of this. So if you want to try and add, like Mariana, you're at a perfect place where you could add shading to the face. You're at a perfect point. What you'll notice that's really interesting, pretty much everything below the eye line is shaded except for like the cheeks. Hey Bianca, nice to have you join us. That was great. I think you did really well. Hope you'll join us again. And I will make sure to send you the YouTube link so you can check out the recording of this. So if you want to, you'll see that like the cheekbones here, the top of the face. So Bianca was just talking about that particular shape of the person she was drawing. There's a light shape that comes out. There's dark on the side. There's shading on both sides of the faces, but on the lighter side of the face, it's lighter. And on the darker side of the face, it's a little bit darker. So if you want to, you can try and add the shading through that shading chart. We'll talk more, like I said, we'll talk more about that next week to really pull it all together. Oh, Jean, those are great. Are you looking up eyes now and just doing different
Yeah,
ones?
I've got
Do it.
some eyes off of Google Images. This very dark, Middle Eastern looking.
Excellent. Excellent.
Leah, where do I start to try to do the shade? It scares me.
Why? Why does it scare you?
How do I start trying to make the shades?
You put the shades on the face in the exact place that they are on the chart.
Okay.
So let me show you. Assuming that this shade is lit from the left. I'm curious to know why it scares you. Is it because you think you're going to ruin the drawing?
Yeah, and I think
Okay,
just,
it's
maybe
because-
I cannot
Okay, so
erase
one
it.
of these things I want you to observe, Mariana, is that the face is darker than you think it is.
Okay.
And I think that's what is right. So it's this idea that dark is going to be too strong. So I'm actually literally sketching in. So I understand. This is also a very strong shading chart. We'll dial it back a little bit. But this is what I mean by shading. You're literally going to sketch these in here. There's shading here on the bottom of the nose. Put it in just like you see it. Outside shapes first. What's nice is, so you can add, even though you kind of have a made up face there, go ahead and add shading. And then you'll see that these areas with the lines here are like lighter. And these areas that are darker on the dark side are a little bit darker. And you'll find, and then if you want to, you can kind of erase out the lines that you drew in on the edges, right? So this is all a little bit, so this reads a little bit softer. Add a kind of light edge here. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. So you see, we add in the shapes, we bring them in, we block them out, we soften the edges to push them back a little bit. Just experiment with this. Oh, I see. This whole thing a bit. It's dark down here. kind of dark in here. I might now erase this so the edge is kind of a little bit less dramatic. So if you want to, you can do this. Or if you don't want to, you can just practice more eyes. See how now I'm starting to get something that looks a little bit more like me though? Not there yet. I haven't worked super hard on it, but definitely. I'm just looking scary. Now I see why you find that frightening. Looks terrible.
Make your pupils bigger.
Even so.
Yeah, it's way less. Well,
I wasn't really planning on getting this far, so my heart isn't really in doing it. But I'll.
you know what, Leah, put the shading in the top of the eyes. There you go.
There we go. Now not so creepy. Oh yeah, that actually, look at that, that actually fixes it quite a lot.
Yes, it does.
It's interesting how much darker the face is than you think, and how much darker you have to go to shade it.
Yeah, it's crazy brave of you to basically draw a self-portrait in class.
Well,
No, they're like the hardest thing to do.
yes, well, we're
You're
not
very
like
brave for
quite
doing
like,
that.
it's not, I'm not trying to force likeness just yet. I'm really trying to sort of highlight.
No, I still think it's pretty
brave.
brave. It's pretty brave.
Well, then we can start, and we can start to get there. So these light areas, if you were to actually run your hand over your face, here, I'll show you like this. Here, let me add my spotlight here. So you'll notice that these light areas of the face are here. If you run your finger over it, you'll feel these are the parts of the face that stick out the most towards the light. So right here, right in here, it's kind of the top of your cheekbones. Up here at the top of your head. We like to think of this forehead as one big thing, but if you run your hand up about here, you'll feel it actually starts to push back, right? It's changed direction. Yeah, exactly. Don't make yourself fall asleep doing it. It's very relaxing. It's like, right? Over here, the chin, the bottom lip. Those are like the areas that are the lightest, right, in the face. Everything else is pretty much shaded to some level of darkness. And you can even see it here on me. Can you see that it's like a little bit darker on this side because I'm a little bit farther from the light? A little bit lighter on this side, but still dark. Right? So it's a subtler version. So it helps to do this in this kind of extreme Frankenstein kind of way. Then we make it more subtle as you start to incorporate it in. We're going to do so many faces and practice so much on this. And pretty quickly, if you guys want to, you can go to doing your own faces, although I can't really demo. So at some point, like I'm real open to however you think this will be the most helpful for you to learn how to do this. I want to demo at least a few faces with you. have you work on them. And then maybe we move to you picking your own faces. Like, that's starting to look a little bit like me, not much, but a little bit. Oh, yeah, there we go. But don't worry if your face doesn't totally look like a face, because we're not. The other thing I want you to organically understand is how long it takes to get to all these different things. We spend a fair amount of time just defining where things are. It's starting to get there. All right, that's all right. Now, Jessica, now that you've got it, I'm like, all right, now I'm gonna make this look like me before the end of class.
No, it's fine. It just doesn't look like super scary anymore. That was
It
the
doesn't.
goal.
No, yeah. It looks better.
You had it
Actually,
looking kind of freaky, but I was kind of scared. I was like
yeah,
scared
yeah,
Leah's
yeah.
gonna give me a
This is
nightmare.
much
that
better. This is a good place
she's my
to
art
stop.
police. I think it looks fine. It looks nice, Leah.
Yep, I don't think it's too bad considering.
No, it's nice. You
Yeah.
did a good job.
Oh, yeah.
And for what it's worth, I've done, I think it was even maybe a self-portrait like years ago that was half finished on my easel, and it actually like literally was so scary looking that it did give me a nightmare. So I'm just gonna put that out there. That is
All
a
right.
true story.
I believe it. It's like easy to scare. I mean, it's the hardest thing to do.
Oh, it is.
Oh, there
1000%.
you go. Oh, Elizabeth Olsen, my God. That's awesome. All right, good, Tosh, good. This is good. I like how you're paying attention to the face here. I feel like, yep, nice.
I'll send you an updated one.
I love it. You guys, this is coming along. Is it helpful?
Yes.
It's super helpful. All right. All right, we've got about 15 minutes left. So, all right, Pari, I'm going to get you in here because I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of you.
You will if I can help it. I work shift, so
Yeah,
I might be working some days, but I'll always catch on because
All
once I
right.
get my
And let me send the video. I'm going to send the video link over the WhatsApp chat so that you can all find where this video, all the videos will be. You guys are doing great. Nice. It's nice to do it with I feel like this is a little bit less pressure in this lesson, right? Because however far you get is how far you get. You can be practicing eyes, you can get the whole face, you don't have to. I felt like before I would basically just jump in and have you do the whole face, and then we wouldn't have this chance to focus on different areas. So this one's really on sort of beginning construction and features. We're going to talk about shading a lot next week. And planes, what we call face planes. And if you think this looks scary, Mariana, wait till you see next week. It looks like positively robotic. And then we dial it back, right? So we start with these really harsh, crazy shapes, and then we kind of pull them back a little bit by getting rid of the strong lines. But we have to put them in there so we can see them. Good.
Tosh Quinn, I love your eyes. Your eyes are so expressive.
Yeah, she got the shapes of everything, right? She got the shapes right. She got the lights and the darks. Ah, that's so fun, Jean. Look at Jean's with all the
like
little.
It's like an old man with very pale eyes, but
Oh my God, fantastic. Don't forget to get him a little bit shaded on the top of the iris. It's
yeah.
a little bit shaded across the whole
you're
top
right.
of the iris.
Yeah.
But nice shapes. And look at the shape of those eyes and what they convey. It's interesting. We spend a lot of time on eyes. We spend a lot of time focusing on eyes. And they are a very important part of the portrait, but it's also true that they're a lot smaller than what we think they are. And they take up a lot less space. So it's interesting to see when you place the eyes, like kind of how little the shifts are. That go, you know, how little the shifts are to show like pretty significant differences in the facial structure. Just interesting how faces feel so different with just these tiny little shifts. Then you wonder, why are people such assholes to each other, like when they're all exactly the same? But that's another question, right? Does anybody else have any questions about this or observations as they're going through this process? Any thoughts?
No, but that made a huge, just making the eyeballs a little darker on top made a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference, doesn't it? Yeah, so funny. Even if you think you can't see it, it's still there. Oh yeah, yep. And then do the same thing with the whites of the eye. You can make it a little bit shaded on the top of the white of the eye too. Right, like here. Like even though it's white, it's not equally white. It's a little bit
And
gray.
Inkling wants to say hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Inkling. Here, hold on.
Inky. Hi, Boo
Have the
Boo.
spotlight. Hi, Boo.
Okay.
Anybody wants to bring their animals on, they'll get a spotlight. Inkling is always trying to get on Jean's lap when she's having an art class.
Yeah, he's like pebbles.
All right, so let me quit mucking about here. I'm going to go to YouTube and get the channel information that you need. Let's see. Here it is. All right, here it is. Here is the YouTube channel. It's on the WhatsApp thread where all of the free classes live. And that's basically pretty much any class that has been recorded. Any of you can go to it. You can send your friends to it. I don't know. I find listening to a 2-hour, like, you know, video kind of tedious, but some people like it. So if you would like it, or you want to go back and hear something or check it out, it's right there. So it's in the WhatsApp thread and you can go it. This class will probably be up sometime maybe tonight, possibly tomorrow. And how did this class go today, you guys? Good.
I love that.
Really
Good.
wow.
Helpful. This is what I want, right? Like, I want you to get past your block, whatever it is. I want to give you the information in a way that you can absolutely absorb it, right? So some of us went further. You guys went very far today, much farther than I thought we would. So I'm impressed. But I wanted to take a little bit of the pressure off that you'd have to do a final version in your first class, because I think there's so much to practice, right, in these things. So it's going to be a continued, like, It's going to be a continued practice to kind of be able to get the adjustments of the face. That's why I did it. That's why we're going to spend 3 months doing it. And we're going to do all kinds of things. Mariana, you're going to love it because by the end, we're going to be doing watercolor faces just like you
Yay.
want to. After we kind of get into the construction of the faces and really do it. So we're going to do a lot of different things with faces. We're going to work on faces in charcoal. We're going to work on faces in ink. We're going to work in pencil. We're going to work on faces that are 3/4. We're going to work on, we're going to be doing our faces for 3 months until you're sick of it and begging for something else. I think you guys will really like it. Let's, I'm going to stop the recording because I don't think we need it.